Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
You bring me the steak?
Indeed.
We'll get it out the class. I get. Let us bow. Our Father and our God, we thank you for this day and our human blessing. Thank you, Lord, for another day. Bless the teacher, the students, remember the absent part of the day, Lord God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So we start in the last section here, lesson 10. The title is Obedience and Justice. The text is coming from Exodus 23, 1 through 9. And if everybody read 3, that should do it.
Okay. Thou shalt not raise a false report, but not thine hand with the wicked to be in unrighteous wickedness. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to risk judgment, neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause.
You get that? You get that?
Am I going? Okay. If thine enemy's ox or donkey go astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. If thou see the donkey of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, and thou wouldest forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help with him. Thou shalt not wrest the judgment of thy poor in his cause.
Keep thou far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. And thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blinded the wise, and the perverse the words of the righteous. Also thou shalt not oppress a stranger, for ye know the heart of a stranger, seeing ye the strangers in the land of Egypt.
Our golden text is Exodus 23, 7. Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. Today's aim facts to see that God gave Israel a set of laws and regulations by which to live. The laws concerning testimonies and speech reveal the need for honesty and compassion. The principle to show that God expects his people to deal honestly with other people. And the application to learn that by obeying God's commandments, we will treat others with honesty and justice. Introducing the lesson, God requires justice and compassion. In our interactions, we are to be honest, we are to avoid favoritism, and we are to treat enemies fairly. So in Exodus 20 and 16, God gave the prohibition against bearing false witness. And the lesson expands on that command. So the first thing is in 23, 1 and 2 is a prohibition against conspiracy of lies. God gave a prohibition against people joining together to lie about something, to commit an injustice. The first statement is telling them not to spread a false report or give false testimony, and the people will lie. Everybody will lie. You think you're gonna get in trouble, you'll lie. Try to get out of it. You think it's gonna make you look good, people will lie. That's bad enough, but what they were really talking about is when you get into that conspiracy with people, y'all come together and think up a lie, and you strengthen each other in the lie that you're telling. And what what the law was pointing at was, okay, if there's you don't want to go into court, and these people have conspired to lie, to say that this thing happened or that thing didn't happen. Because when you do that, you're denying somebody else justice, and somebody's going to pay a price for what's happened. If we have laws against criminal conspiracy. You ain't even got to commit the crime, but if you got together and decided, we got together, we planned it out, we got the stuff to go rob the bank or whatever, you ain't ever got to rob the bank.
That's right.
If they find out that you were conspiring, all y'all going to jail for conspiring to rob this bank. It's a plan. You decide to do that. When you do that, you don't wanna be the one that joins in the popular cause that strips justice from somebody else. We see a lot of that today where something happens and everybody decides that we ain't gonna wait for the facts. We think that this is how it happened, so we all gonna say this is what happened. Well, that person that's being accused, they may not have done anything wrong. But all of y'all done got in on together because y'all didn't wait to see what had actually happened. We just decided that, yeah, he was wrong. Yeah, they stole it. Yeah, they hurt that person, whatever the case may be. Then you all jump in it. Now that person, he doesn't have a chance. Because once you get people's emotions whipped up and they're in a frenzy, when you get a mob whipped up,
It don't take much.
it don't take much. But that Emmett Till movie just came out.
Yeah.
Prime example. Prime example. This woman told a lie.
Yeah.
Nobody waited to see what had happened. They whip up a mob. Everybody, yeah, he whistled at this woman, and you know if somebody said he whistled at her, by the time it got to everybody else, he done attacked her.
Right.
So everybody's jumped in on it. Now we go lynch this little 13-year-old. He got deprived of his life in any sense of justice because we jumped in on a lie. We didn't take time to figure out whether what was being said was true or not. We think it might be true. It sounds like it could be true, so it must be true. So now let's go. Well, that's what God is telling them not to. Don't do that. You don't jump into a conspiracy of lies to people because you are depriving somebody else of an opportunity to get true justice. You think you're doing justice, but you're not. You can't do justice if you don't have the facts.
And in that movie, that woman kept that lie until did she die?
She's still alive.
Yeah, she's still alive, but she to this
For a
day
long,
kept
long
it.
time.
Yeah.
They asked her did she want to change it. She said no.
Now ain't that something for somebody to hold something like that? You know.
But you don't. But you are defined by that lie that you told. So if I'm defined by this lie that I told, if I come back now and say I didn't do it, how does that make me look? So I'm gonna stick to my lie.
Well, I got one
But it's
that didn't kill nobody, but the Pete Rose lie. I didn't bet on baseball, and he want to get in the Hall of Fame. And all these years, I'm like, well, you know, Pete didn't do that. And then
Pete finally came out and said,
yeah, I did. And they still won't put him in the Hall of Fame.
They never going to.
They ain't going to.
But he
but he
But he
have a
wrote that lie.
conscience and come back and say he did.
He did.
It wasn't about a conscience. It's everybody know you did.
Yeah.
But
he could have kept saying
he could have kept it for long because he kept on for years and years and years saying no, I didn't do it. Well, we have the evidence. You did it. They ain't gonna let you. They kicked you out of baseball. They ain't never gonna let you in the Hall of Fame. You might as well go ahead and tell the truth. But he went for 25 years saying that he didn't do it, and we got evidence that you did.
And people like that.
But people do that. They'll hold on to a lie. But we don't want to get caught up in the conspiracy of lies of saying, okay, well, let's go get them.
Right.
And we don't know what happened.
Right.
Or we know that thing with, back in the day, Tawana Brawley. When Al Sharpton, they said she went out, stayed out all night, knew she was going to get in trouble. So she pretends like a bunch of white cops raped her. Al Sharpton gets involved. This is back in the 80s. Al Sharpton gets involved and they put these guys on trial. They lose their jobs. They face in prison. And ain't nobody done nothing, Ms. Girl.
Oh.
She just didn't want to get in trouble at home. She said that, and then you get Al Sharpton. Hey, there's some money to be made, and there's a camera involved. So let me get in here. So everybody jumps on this lie, and they run these guys through the ringer. And then they go to court and they're acquitted, and then it's like, okay, well, here's where she was at. This is what you got people telling now where she was at, but they still hold on to that lie. They still bring that up, even though these guys went to court, were acquitted, but they lost their jobs, their reputation. I mean, it's like they put their names out there right off the bat. It was these three guys, and they raped her, and that sticks to you for the rest of your life, whether you did it or not. All it takes is the accusation of some crimes, and you never get free of that. That's what we ain't supposed to be doing. And you got this dude running around saying he's a reverend and you leading the lynch mob. That ain't what you're supposed to be doing. And that's what God was telling through Moses. Look, children of Israel, this ain't what we do. You don't go around jumping in with the mob and telling lies and depriving people of justice, because where do they go to get their good name back? When they die, that's going to be lead sentence in their obituary. That they were accused of this. And it'll say that they were later acquitted, but the first thing is going to be that they were accused of raping Tawana Brawley in 1988 or 89, whenever it was. That's going to be in your obituary.
And see, they didn't do it, but they're gonna put it. You're gonna have doubts like they did.
There's always going to be some people that believe, well, they had to do it.
Yeah.
But we got evidence that this is where that girl was at when she said that they was allegedly raping her. How you gonna say that they had to do it? But people will believe stuff like that. Okay, I don't trust the cops, and I know some cops did some bad stuff here, so I assume that if they were accused of it, then they had to do it because they cops.
So
people think that way.
Whoever will mess it up for everybody else. Because see, like I say, once you put stuff out there and they didn't do it, won't nobody trusting the cops, law enforcement. And it might be one or two good ones out there that could help. But this one incident, which was not the truth, all of them bad.
Yeah, that puts
all of them.
It's not just those three; it's everybody.
All of them, black, white, yellow, blue, man, woman, all of them crooks.
They all crooks. But these dudes wasn't even crooks. Now, have there been some crooked ones? Yes. But no more than politicians or people that run a grocery store, or you're gonna have some crooks in everything that you do.
And see, the thing of it is, like what you're saying, the one, and then it all, and then then you got one or two that's really trying to help people, and we want your help because you bad. I mean. And
then when something goes wrong, you don't want the help, but when you need the help, they can't win.
Where was that? They should have been here.
Like, but you said you don't want them in your neighborhood.
They fraud the police.
Yeah, it's always stuff like that, but a lot of that stuff will start with something that ain't true. And everybody jumps on it.
It just steamrolls.
It rolls downhill. So it was a warning to the people as a group, but it was also a warning to the individuals in Israel, because it's like, if you're the kind of person that allows public opinion to shape what you think, you'll get into all sorts of stuff that you shouldn't be into. Because you don't know how to stand up and look at something and say, okay, let me step back, wait a minute. That sounds like something that might have happened, but I don't know, let me find out. You'll get into all sorts of stuff because you're susceptible to being led along by the crowd. Like, okay, so if you're a Christian, how you gonna be led along by the crowd?
That's right.
How you gonna listen to everybody else except for who you're supposed to listen to?
That's right.
So it's like, so at some point you have to develop that, and you got to be willing to stand sometimes by yourself. I mean, it's just simple as that. Sometimes you got to stand there by yourself. Sometimes you're gonna be the one. You got to stand there, and if you do, you're not standing by yourself, especially if you're standing on the truth.
That's right.
You're not standing by yourself. Might feel like it, but you're not standing by yourself. But if ain't nobody else that you can see around you, stand there anyway. Because right is right, wrong is wrong. And you can't just say, well, they doing it over there, we need to do it over here.
Right.
And you see that in a church context where, okay, well, they doing this kind of service over here, we need to do that too. Like, no, we need to do what's best for our people.
That's right, that's right.
Well, they preaching this, so we need to preach it. Well, have you listened to what they preaching? Or it just sound good?
It just sound good.
I mean, no, I don't need to hear what's going to tickle my ears. I need to know what's the truth. But you have that. That's why you have all these pastors in skinny jeans and $3,000 sneakers and all this stuff. That's one way you can get a crowd real big, and have a gigantic mega church is you do what that other guy did over there, and they got people that you can pay to teach you how to build your congregation. And the first thing they do is go out and ask people that don't go to church what they would like if they came to church. And then they try and tell you whatever these people that don't go to church said they would like to have in church.
That's
You
what
need to
do.
offer that.
You need to do
And now look around all these churches. Elevation with Stephen Furtick and them down there.
that. Mm-hmm.
You got all these churches that are seeker sensitive because we just trying to get people in. And we
What you say?
seeker sensitive. Seeker sensitive churches. They were trying to get people in the doors, get a big congregation. So we hire these people and they tell us, they do a survey of our area and see what the unchurched people or unsaved people or whatever, what they would like to see at church. You start offering that. And then you start getting people to come. But y'all all know what you win them with is what you don't want them to.
That's
and you're gonna have
right.
to keep giving them that.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So you got seeker sensitive churches. You know, I've heard some of these people talk about, you know, their members that have been here for a while, that this church ain't for you. This church ain't for you. This
So they saying they don't want.
because they're always trying to get new people in. So if you're always trying to get new people in, you got to keep going back to those same things to draw people in. You know, you got to be like Mike Todd and have your feet sitting up on a stage with your feet in a pool. You know, you got to do stuff like that because that's what you do. That's what you did to get them in.
Right.
That's what you're gonna have to do to keep them in. And you ain't gonna ever be able to move beyond the milk of the word because you got them on sweet milk.
Mm-hmm.
You got them on yoo-hoo.
You.
So you ain't ever really gonna. So if you do advance them to get them off of yoo-hoo onto actual milk, you're gonna have to give them skim milk because they can't take real milk because all they ever had was yoo-hoo. So you got a bunch of spiritual children sitting in your church. You might have 10,000 of them, and then the ones that are looking at this like, okay, when are you going to teach me? When are you going to teach me about sanctification? When are you going to teach me what it really means to be saved? When are you going to start teaching me how to walk this thing out? This church ain't for you.
When you think about that, I had a friend. She had a cousin that goes to like the Elevation Church in Charlotte, and she had kept wanting her to go, so she went. And she said it ain't for her because when she thought that she seen Steve on TV, she thought he would be there. He's up on the screen. She said, and they just, you know, she said, what in the world? No, he's not there. It's just like that TV.
They got
They all
big
come to
screens.
church and worship.
Churches.
They got different campuses.
Right.
So
And
you
he be
have-
up on the screen. She
So
said,
he's-
she
he's
want
at
to
this
come to
place-
church and hear a preacher.
He's at this place preaching.
And they
You
watch.
got all these satellite campuses, and you got campus
Yeah.
pastors that don't ever preach. Y'all might have it's like, okay, y'all come in and y'all might do a little bit of stuff together
Yeah, just
as
praise
a
and
group.
worship, and then
And
when
then
it's
when
time for the
and then
word,
now everybody sit down. The big screen is on,
yeah,
and we gonna watch the big screen.
Like say we go into the movie theater.
yeah, that's right. She said, Vanessa, the praise and worship was all right, but then when they said, here come the Pat,
You waiting for somebody to walk up in
yeah,
you somebody
she
to walk up in this
said, I
pulpit.
can't get with that. She said, I can't get with that.
I didn't know that.
And then he's one of them. He was the one that said that this church ain't for you.
Well, it might not
He
be
said-
for people
Yeah.
that want
And it
to.
ain't just,
Yeah.
but that mentality is amongst a bunch of these mega church preachers because it's like, look, I'm just trying to get people in. I don't we are small in number, but we learn
Right,
and we grow spiritually. So I'm gonna keep coming
right,
because I'm gonna grow spiritually.
right,
Right.
I'm gonna grow where it matters.
right.
We don't have a pastor that's running around thinking about like, yeah, we would like to have more people.
Oh, yeah.
But it ain't like, okay, I'm gonna scrap what I've been doing and let's go find out what people that don't go to church like and let's do that. So let's give them a show every week.
And the first thing you probably have on their list, well, the church started too early.
So we
So
gonna
let's
start
start about
church at
12.
12. So you got time to go to Starbucks and have your breakfast and whatnot. So we gonna start late.
Yeah.
And then we gon' okay, what kind of music y'all like? Okay, we're gonna have this kind of music. It's like Andy Stanley. Got that big old church down in Georgia. You know, Dad's Charleston.
Yeah.
Andy Stanley one Sunday got his church, got his praise and worship band in there playing Led Zeppelin songs.
Who is Led Zeppelin?
Led Zeppelin is a
rock
rock band.
group from the 60s.
He's got his worship band.
Mm.
And I ain't talking about soft rock from the 70s where you can
That's
listen
hard
to.
rock.
We talking about hardcore heavy metal.
Yeah.
This is what you have your worship band playing. And it's like, well, yeah, we gotta let them get it out sometimes, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-mm.
Like, no
They not
disrespect,
being
sir.
account for all that.
Yeah, no respect, sir, but that should have been out of them before you let them in your worship band.
Mhm.
I grew up listening to hip hop music. It's the music of my generation. It hit big when I was coming up. I was at that 10, 12, 13 years.
In
So
your
I
youth.
listened to it.
But you
Youth.
But there's some
wouldn't
stuff,
hear it
and
in church.
I still like it. But there's some of it that I don't listen to anymore.
Mhm.
You know, I don't listen to none of the new stuff. My catalog stops off about 2003, 2004, somewhere along in there.
Mine's about 95, 96.
I know Madison's watching. I hope. Or she will be watching. Tupac had that song, Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah.
I love Hit 'Em Up. But I can't listen to that. I can't
Definitely
listen
don't
to
want
it.
to hear it in church. They bring it in the church. And,
And I wouldn't dare not have some.
Yeah.
Let's get them up here and let them do Hit 'Em Up. No, bruh.
And see, with that comes some ungodly spirits,
Right,
Mhm.
right.
a bunch of myths.
So is there any wonder that Charles Stanley's the one said we gotta unhitch from the Old Testament? That we don't have to worry about the 10 Commandments anymore. And then just the other week he was saying how Jesus said something, yeah, it was true, but it wasn't right. Bruh.
Jesus said,
Yeah. Jesus said it was true, but it wasn't necessarily right. Like, huh?
Everything he said is right.
yeah,
So, but
it's in the Bible.
But when you think it's okay to have your worship band playing Led Zeppelin in front of your church,
Yeah,
and you think it's funny,
yeah,
I gotta question you.
yeah.
I don't know if you say it.
Mhm.
You say you are. You know, people like to say we gotta be fruit inspectors. Like, okay, you know what? That's all fine and good up to a point. But I was listening to one of the guys on YouTube that I like to listen to, and he said something like, you know what? That's exactly right. Like, God sees the root. We can only see the fruit. So yeah, we gotta kind of be fruit inspectors, but we can't look at them and say because their fruit isn't what I like. Like, I don't like mango. So if you got a mango tree, I can't say that that's bad. It's just I don't like that.
Mhm.
But there's some stuff that I can look at and I can know that's bad fruit, and it's probably coming from a rotten root.
Yeah,
So if you're teaching your people that Jesus said something that was true but not necessarily right, and we don't have to listen to nothing in the Old Testament, and he's one of them, well, people don't like to hear that Old Testament taught in church, so we ain't really gonna teach it. Like, bro, you take the whole
word of God.
word of God, the whole counsel.
Yeah.
You can't understand the New Testament without the Old Testament.
Mhm.
Right.
You can't understand the Old Testament without the New Testament. The New Testament points to the Old. The Old is birth. The new is birth from the Old. It works
goes
together.
Yeah.
It goes together.
Okay, when Paul is telling Timothy that all Scripture is God breathed, what Scripture did he have? The Old Testament. He didn't have a New Testament. The New Testament was still being lived. It wasn't even being written; it was being lived. So, if the apostles, and when Jesus is talking about how holy and righteous the Scriptures are, he's talking about the Old Testament. If it's good enough for Jesus, it's sure enough good enough for me. But when you're being tossed around by the winds of society and you want to be popular and you want to do this, you get caught up in the crowd, you'll do stuff like that.
Right.
So it's not just, it wasn't just Israel, it's us.
Yeah.
You know, the warning is for us too. Don't get caught up in wanting to follow the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You will deprive somebody of justice, and you can also end up depriving God of the glory and the honor that he deserves because you start teaching stuff that ain't so
Yeah.
because it's popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds good, and it'll get people to come to my church.
He tells us we were the false doctrine,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
But we first gotta know what
What
the
good
right
doctrine
doctrine,
is.
You gotta
yeah,
know
what the
what right
doctrine
doctrine
You
is.
gotta know what good doctrine
Yeah.
is. It's like, and don't have no
You don't
doctrine that
know.
don't come out the Bible.
Right.
Yeah.
If I can't go back to the Bible and it clearly says it,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, okay, we believe in the doctrine of the Trinity, and the word Trinity doesn't show up in the Bible, but all through the Bible we see the Trinity in existence. We see it, and if you don't see it nowhere else, when John the Baptist baptized Jesus, and Jesus comes out of the water, and the Father speaks from heaven and says, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased."
Yeah.
And then the Holy Spirit comes down and lights on his shoulder in the form of a dove. You got all three persons of the Godhead right there. You got the Father speaking about the Son and the Holy Spirit coming to light on him. So I can go to the Bible and the doctrine of the Trinity is there. But if you tell me there's a doctrine of this and I can't go to the Bible and I can clearly find it, then it ain't no doctrine. You made that up. But we got to know what good sound doctrine is to be able to understand bad doctrine.
Yeah.
And what they say, like, you got to have good doctrine if for no other reason to be able to combat bad doctrine. Because if you don't know, you get caught up in all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. They're like, well, so and so preach good today. What they preach, I don't know, but they sure sounded good.
Or they start telling you what he says, like, wait a minute, what that in the Bible?
What they did.
Well, he's preached from here. Well, that ain't even what that's talking about.
Yeah. He didn't change.
He done took this one little verse, one part of a verse, and made up a whole doctrine around it.
Yeah. Made his whole thing.
The next thing was a prohibition against favoritism towards the poor. There's a danger in taking up the cause of the poor. Because we always we love the underdog. Especially here in the United States, we love the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in 23:3, he's telling them, look, you can't go out here and make decisions in favor of this poor person just because they're poor. That's what he's saying when you don't countenance a poor man in his cause. Now, there's a much bigger temptation to favor a rich person. Because rich people, we think they can do something for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to them in a minute. But what we end up doing a lot of times, we'll sympathize with a poor person. And then when we sympathize with them, what we end up doing a lot of times is start making excuses for their bad behavior. Okay, stealing is wrong.
That's right.
I don't care why you stole it.
Right.
Stealing is wrong.
It's wrong.
But we'll,
Use the other word here.
what,
What's the other word for steal?
thieving,
No.
robbing,
No. I can't think of it.
because all
Embezzling.
embezzling is wrong, because embezzling is still. When rich people do it at a company, it's embezzling. But if I take a staple out the building, I'm stealing. Same thing. But I get you, same thing. But what we do is we'll get that poor person and we start making excuses. You know, well, they only stole that because they was poor and they had these kids to feed and this, that, and that. Like, you know what? I feel bad that they were in that situation. But they still stole it.
Right.
And I'm not going to act like they didn't steal it because they was poor. Or that justifies it. It doesn't justify it. Just because you can't have a double standard. You can't have unequal weights and measures. Where, okay, well, you're middle class and you stole last, we throwing a book at you. You're poor, you stole it. Poor baby,
Bless your heart.
bless your little heart. We can put him in jail, but you'll put me in jail.
Yeah,
Gotta have the same,
If the law is the law is the law.
yeah,
that's right.
So we can't get caught up in wanting to, what we do is we mythologize poor people. We mythologize poor people, we demonize rich people. Some rich people deserve to be demonized, but that's for who they are and what they do. But we will look at rich people as a group and say that they are this. And then we'll look at poor people and lump them into a group and say that they are that. And what we think they are is worthy of a break. And they deserve, they deserve this, and they deserve that, and we shouldn't do this. You can't, just cause you poor, don't mean you're a good person. You got poor people out there poor cause they won't work.
You got that right, they won't work.
Won't work at a pie shop tasting pain.
You right.
So, but we get caught up in this, we get caught up in this, oh Lord, we gotta give the poor people a break. Like, not if they breaking the law. You don't think that if they come break into your house.
That's right.
yeah,
Perfect example. Nancy Pelosi's husband.
yeah,
When them people went outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house, when that man traveled across the country with zip ties and a gun and was trying to assassinate this man. Oh, yeah, he didn't get close to him. He was outside his house. The only reason he didn't is because the guy's conscience got the better of him. He called his sister, telling her what he was about to do, and she called the cops. And then when the cops came, he gave himself up.
right,
But if you come across the country with a loaded weapon and extra ammunition and zip ties to tie somebody up, you got a reason for doing that. But because Brett Kavanaugh doesn't have right politics, we don't care about that. Nancy Pelosi's husband, that dude breaks in their house allegedly,
yeah,
hits him in his head, cracks his skull. Now everybody care about crime. Y'all don't care about crime when it's not touching your neighborhood.
right,
Crime ain't that bad when it's over on the other side of town. Stealing ain't that bad when they ain't stealing from you. But the minute they steal from you, oh, we gotta throw the book at them. Wait a minute, I thought it was okay.
yeah. Let me
He
tell
poor
you,
too.
but for some reason, it's always been like it, and I don't know why. Cause let's say drugs, back when Black Panthers was real big, and there was people shooting up. When I say shooting with a nigga,
Shooting up here.
they was ODing. Didn't nobody say nothing. But then when it was
When they got to the suburbs,
when it was their kids, their daughters.
oh, we gotta do something about this. It's an
what they
epidemic.
call it,
It's an epidemic. We gotta have a war on drugs.
We got to do this. But when
But
just
what's over
over
here?
here,
When the black people
but
and
keep it up,
Hispanics,
y'all keep it over there, then. Don't bring it over here to our little nice neighborhood.
you can't have unequal weights and measures.
Yeah.
It's either bad all the time or it ain't bad any of the time.
Yeah.
It can't just be bad when it touches you.
Yeah, yeah,
And what we got this idea that, okay, poor people, oh, they're always the oppressed and they're the underdog and they're this, so we gotta give them a break until they steal from you.
yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you don't care how poor they are. They broke in my car and stole my stereo. You don't care how poor they are.
Yeah.
You want the cops to go find them and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. But when they're over here in this neighborhood, breaking in this working man's,
Yeah.
oh, he's poor, we just gotta find different, we gotta make some programs for him and blah.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
But you also gotta send him to jail, cause whatever the penalty is for what he did, he's gotta pay that penalty.
Let them learn it behind.
You gotta pay that penalty. If it's a fine, okay, make him pay the fine just like you make me pay the fine.
Yeah.
But it can't be, well, they poor, so they.
But like I say, it's been like it. And I don't understand why. You can see the why.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a everybody problem.
It's an everybody problem.
You know, like
Everybody sees it.
people eating the pills. You know, they don't say the pills kill. They say it's something else. They committed suicide. They don't want to come out and
But-
admit it.
But everybody, this person was high on oxy, this person was high on heroin, it's all bad.
Yeah, it is.
But you can't act like it's okay, you know, drug dealing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, these guys, they were slinging dope in the hood, they didn't deserve to go to prison. The law said, if you doing this, and you get caught, and you get convicted, you doing this much time. You were willing, because you were poor, to sell dope to your own people, to sell poison to your own people. And then you got rich. But I'm supposed to feel sorry for you because you was, no. Timmy in the suburbs get caught selling dope, Timmy in the suburbs need to go to prison. If that's the law.
That's right.
Pookie in the projects get caught, Pookie in the projects need to go to prison, because that's the law. I don't get to feel sorry for him because, well, he's poor and this is the only reason he's doing it. No, you're doing it because you think you can get away with it and you can make some money at it. That's why you're doing it. You know, sin don't know social class. It does. Sin is, everybody got some. Ain't no social classes involved, so we gotta be understanding, ain't no social classes involved, ain't nobody holy cause they poor, and ain't nobody special cause they rich. The next one was the command to restore an opponent's animal. That was in 23, 4, and 5. The whole thing about this is was to teach them how to treat somebody who's your enemy, that you have a problem with. If I'm one of the Israelites and I see this guy and we got a problem, me and him got a problem, and I see his donkey wandering off, and I know it's his donkey, but I know if that donkey get away from him, it's gonna put him in a bad spot. The natural thing for me to do is watch that donkey go on by.
That's right.
The natural thing.
The natural thing for me to do is watch that donkey go on by, and then if they come and ask me about it, I ain't seen no donkey.
You had it done.
That's the natural thing to do. What the law is telling me to do is do a supernatural thing. To do an unnatural thing. Go get it. Take it back to me. No, it don't necessarily help you. But you do right. You do the right thing. You take that back to him. If you see his donkey and he done weighed it down with too much stuff, the donkey done fell down and he can't get back up, and you need it, and he needs some help getting some of this stuff off of it to help him get back up, don't just stand over there in the corner like, look at you. I hope your donkey don't ever get up. Cause that's the natural thing. There's some beef between me and you. I hope your donkey don't ever get up. I hope he dies. Because that's what we'll do.
That's how people are. Yeah.
But what God and what the law is pointing him to do is go do the right thing. Go help him. And part of it is one day, it might be you. How are you gonna feel if he let yours get away from you and you know this is the only donkey I got to plow my field. I don't have enough money to go buy another one. I gotta get these crops in and planted. I gotta feed my family. How you gonna feel if he just let your donkey wander off? Or I'm taking this stuff to market, we gotta get this so we can have food in the house, and I put too much on it. Nazareth fell over and I need some help to help him get back up, and he just stand over there and watch. How you gonna feel? Do right. If everybody does right, then ain't nobody gonna be in no bad spots. You're gonna be there to help each other. You ain't gotta like each other.
Right.
And sometimes, cause if it's my buddy and his donkey go off, I go help him look for
Oh,
it.
yeah, quickly.
But if it's my buddy's enemy, man, that's who? No,
I ain't
I ain't saying nothing.
No,
But that's
no,
what.
no.
But that's the thing. Like you don't do that.
Yeah.
And then it's like you look back. It's like, okay, well, what did Jesus do for us?
Yeah.
We were his enemy.
Mhm.
We were enemies of God when we was out there in our sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would it have been for him to just walk by us
Yeah.
and let us wander off on our own? He came and got us.
We still be messed up.
So that's part of teaching people to love your enemies. Do right by them. That don't mean you gotta go grab them up in a hug and give them a big old sloppy kiss on the cheek.
Right.
You ain't gotta do that, but you gotta do right by them. You gotta show them respect. You have to treat them well. You ain't gotta be friends,
Right.
but you gotta treat them well. You gotta do right.
That's right.
So that's the thing that he was telling them to do. That was the whole point of that. The next thing was a command for justice to the poor. So on the flip side of showing favoritism, don't try and beat poor people out of stuff and treat them unjustly just because they're poor.
That's right.
That's just as bad as showing favoritism. Now, because they don't have a big name, because they don't have the money, they don't have the status, well, I can just do whatever with you. If somebody took yours, too bad for you. Ain't my job to come help you. Like, yeah, it is. It's your job to do right. It's your job to do justice. And justice don't just go to rich people. Justice is supposed to go to the person who's in the right, rich or poor. So just like you don't run around and act like poor people are holy because they're poor, you don't act like that they're wrong and the biggest sinners because they're poor. You don't, like I said, it's about equal weights and measures. We have that tendency when we're not acting like poor people are heroes for being poor. We got a tendency to look at them like, okay, you can't really do nothing to me if I do him wrong. I can steal from him. I can take what's his. If we go to court, how are you gonna get a lawyer? He can't defend himself. So I can do whatever I want to him because he's poor, he's no threat to me. It's bad enough when individuals do that, but when your system does it, when your system of justice is doing that thing, you got a real problem. Because nobody's getting justice. Nobody's getting true justice when somebody's putting a finger on the scales. When I'm putting a finger on the scales because these people are poor, I'm going to give them a break. Or because these people are rich and they might be able to help me down the road, I'm going to help them. Nobody gets true justice. And we see that a whole lot in the way that, we look around, we see that all the time. They say he who got the most money get the most justice. And sadly, a lot of times that's true. Me and you can be up for the same crime. If I'm poor and I can't afford a big lawyer with connections and knows the judge and the DA and whatnot, that maybe can either get me off or get me a good deal. If I can't do that, I'm toast. I'm about to do all of this time. But if I got money and I got connections and I'm well known, if I'm one of the McMichaels in Madison, everybody knows my granddaddy and this, that, and the other, so I'm going to get a little bit of, they're going to look out for me up here. Because they know, my family still own that mill down there, and we still employ a lot of people up here, so y'all going to y'all going to help me. But them brims out there in Hayes Chapel, nobody know them. They ain't got no money. They got enough, they do okay for themselves, but they don't have any power. They don't have any influence. So let one of them brims out there get in trouble. Oh, deal. If we give you a deal, okay, instead of you doing 15 years, we'll let you do 12. But on McMichael, instead of doing 15 years, you might get 6 months of probation or fine. We can't do that. Because then nobody's really getting true justice. And the Lord told Israel over and over and over and over and over about this. But they also violated that commandment over and over and over and over. That's why you saw in Isaiah when Israel's about to go into exile, that's one of the things Isaiah was saying. See, y'all perverted justice. Y'all didn't do justice. Y'all favored the rich. Amos said the same thing. Y'all favored the rich. Y'all oppressed the poor. You were told not to do this. From the beginning, you were told not to do this. This counts against you. This is something that God has told you to do or not do, and you just blown past it like anybody said nothing to you. In our society today, we're reaping some of the same, we're reaping some of the same judgment. We ain't being sent into exile, but you ain't telling me that we ain't under judgment for the way that this country has behaved itself. The immorality that we say is okay, we just turn a blind eye to it. And part of it is we pervert justice. When Harvey Weinstein can be accused of all that stuff that he did, and people are surprised that he got convicted, we got a problem. You got evidence that he did some of this stuff, but you're surprised that he got convicted because he was rich, because he was famous, because he.
Okay.
That means that our system ain't doing true justice.
Well, let me lay something on. And I know you've seen it on the news. I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, these two girls went walking down the trail and they got killed. And last weekend, they was talking about, they finally got a suspect. Right. So they was gonna do whatever they was gonna do Monday. And the girl was reporting in front of the church. And they was gonna do the news thing from the church. And it was people coming from wherever, want to see what kind of house that man lived in. That claimed did it, and you remind me that. So that's what that meant. Why would you want to ride by there? But they judging the house.
Because if
him.
he probably if his house is if he live in a house with weeds on it and it's tumbled down, yeah, he probably did that. He looked like a criminal. But if he lived in the big side of town with the big house and the big yard and somebody out there cutting for him, we can't see how he would do that. Because that's the way we think. We start looking at it, okay, this rich person, they couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Why would they do that? Because they can be just as depraved, they're just as depraved as anybody else.
Yeah.
You're not worse because you're poor or better because you're rich.
It's the sin. It's the sin in the act. It's not your bank account or lack of one. It's the sin.
And everybody got something.
And you don't look at it. And like when I seen that and I was watching, I was like, well, Vanessa, he got people around by the man's house.
What's that got to do with anything?
I know it, and I couldn't, but that's what they doing. They judging his house or how his house looks. I guess saying if he's guilty.
And that's going to link up in their mind of what they think of how this went or how it should go.
Yeah.
And no, that ain't got nothing to do with it.
No.
Is there evidence that he did it? Is there evidence enough to convict him? If it is, too bad for him. You shouldn't have done what you did.
Yeah.
But we can't sit around, okay, rich people's always guilty and poor people's always innocent, or vice versa. Like, no, what's the facts?
Yeah.
What's the evidence? Weigh it all out. And once we weigh it all out, rich, poor, don't matter. What's the evidence say?
And then throw this on you then. Throw this on you. It ain't what you. It ain't what how they say it ain't what you know, it's what you can prove or something
Yeah,
like that.
some of it is it ain't what you know, is who you know.
Yeah.
You know, some of it is that, and it ain't supposed to be. It's not supposed. If we were doing justice, it wouldn't be that way.
Right.
If we were doing justice, that would be a joke, not something that we can say and it's pretty much true. It ain't. A lot of times, it ain't what you know, who you know.
And see, and then, they show the scales, and the woman with the blind.
Lady Justice supposed to be blind.
Supposed to be blind. But
whoever
puts the most money on that end is going to get off. I mean,
Lady Justice ain't supposed to lift up her blindfold and peek
peeking.
and see, well, who is that?
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing. We peek, trying to see, so we're not doing true justice.
Yeah.
And when we don't do true justice, we're doing what God Israel put sending exile part of it. is we care more about if you can help me out,
Yeah,
I'll help you out.
yeah, yeah. Like the Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
Godfather, can you do this for me?
Yeah, but you gonna owe me.
It could be 5 or 10 years down the road.
You gonna owe me, you gonna pay this debt.
Remember that time when I did it? Yeah, Godfather, I need you to go shoot that lady. Okay, Godfather.
Can you get out of it?
Yeah.
Yep, so,
Tired.
that's okay. They don't get into supporting the innocent and refusing bribes. We're told to stay away from, well, Israel's told, and we are to stay away from, keep far from a false matter. And don't slay the innocent or the righteous. Because God is not going to justify you in your wickedness. And slaying them don't necessarily mean kill them. Sometimes it's killing their character, killing their reputation, slandering people, dragging them, backbiting them. You kill them. You're doing violence to them. You're saying that they are something that they're not. That's not fair. So we can't do that. We're not supposed to be doing it, but too much of the time we do. God's going to judge everybody, and He's going to judge everybody on a fair scale. I don't want to be standing up there and then one of the charges against me is you had unequal weights and measures too. No, I'm trying to be fair. I ain't always going to be able to do it because I'm still human, but I'm going to be striving to do that, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. Now, refusing bribes. Thou shalt take no gift. We all know that bribery makes a mockery of justice. You can have the best judge, the best lawyer, the best cop, or whatever. The minute they start taking money, or favors, or whatever it is, they ain't the best anymore.
Yeah.
Now you just another crook.
And that shows that you can be bought.
And then when somebody's bribing you, they got something on you.
Yeah.
That's right.
They own you now.
Yeah, that's right.
They own you. But God was telling them, look, don't do this. All of this is about doing justice, doing true justice. You can't I can't expect true justice if I go into court and I think the judge been paid off. How am I going to expect that? That's why it's like judges, it's like being on a jury. Y'all know I had jury duty. If you want to get out of jury duty, if you know somebody, if you know one of the lawyers, or you know one of the people involved in the case, they're going to send you right on out of there. Because as much as you say you can be fair, you know them.
Yeah.
And so you may be on their side because you may be more inclined to believe them because you know them, or you might know this person's the biggest liar I ever met. So I don't trust nothing out of their mouth. That's just as bad. Either way. So they will send you out, okay, you're excused. Because you know this person. And then because you know them, we can't expect you to be fair.
Right.
We can't expect that. Because you know them. You have a relationship with them. You know things about them that we don't. And you may judge them on those things that you know that everybody else don't know. You can get out of jury duty real quick like that. But that keeps the process fair. That means that I'm not sitting up there with an enemy judging me. A secret enemy. You don't want that. You surely don't want bribery where, the judge, he ain't got paid on. I ain't gotta worry about it. I ain't gotta worry about it. I'm gonna go in here, we're gonna go through the motions because I know that at every point where I need some help, he got it.
I've been watching the movies, and the guy was guilty. And he was like, to his lawyer, well, I know I ain't gonna pull no time, because I know you're gonna get me off. You know, you know you're guilty.
Now I can say that to my lawyer.
Yeah.
But when my lawyer is able to go to the judge, and they got a relationship, and you see it both ways where somebody's being accused of something, they know the judge, and it goes soft on them, or the judge knows the prosecutor, and they're real good friends, So the prosecutor gets every bit of leeway they can get. And then there I am, I can't get a fair trial. I can't get a fair trial. That's what, no bribes. Bribes make you a liar. Bribes make you a thief. Bribes make you dishonest. Bribes make you pervert justice. And we serve a just God. So he wants our system, he's given us, I mean, you look at all of this stuff, we still do this. These are still the rules. There are laws now. And they come from there. From that far back.
And once you get that label of taking bribes, when it comes to say it comes up today, or we need to go back and look at these other cases.
Nobody and nobody will trust you ever going
They don't
forward.
even believe what your name is, you know. Cause see, all you got is your name. You know, don't care how many universities you build, or how many bridges you build, or how many people you feed. The end of it is
Who have you
your
been?
name.
Who have you been? What does your name represent?
Yeah, exactly.
When somebody says your name, do they think honesty and integrity?
He's a crook.
Or do they think this dude's a thief and a rogue?
He's a crook. He took 2 pennies from me. He's a crook. And 2 pennies ain't nothing.
But they wasn't yours.
Yeah.
But they wasn't yours. And bribes do that. Bribes pervert, it says bribes pervert the words of the righteous. And that means the causes of the righteous, to think,